Another Victory Monday where we appreciate getting to talk to Commanders head coach Ron Rivera. I've been asking you this for a few weeks in a row now. You're now 6-5. Your first winning record since week 1. Won 5 out of 6. Defense is playing lights out football. Where is your team?
Well, I think we've taken another step. I think we've put ourselves in the conversation of opportunities. The way we're going to look at it as we control our own destiny. We have to take them one at a time, and we're going to focus in on getting ready for Atlanta.
Of the teams competing for wildcard berths in the NFC, or just playoff berths in the NFC, you kind of get to play all of them in your remaining schedule.
We do.
Falcons, Giants, Cowboys, Niners.
Yep.
Do you look at that as an opportunity?
I look at it as the opportunity as they come. If we take care of our business each week, do the things that we're capable of, play the best football we can, it gives us an opportunity the next week. But right now, the opportunity is Atlanta.
Want to talk plenty about the win in Houston, but let's start with kind of the big news. Chase Young, active roster, first time in over a year now. Where is Chase, and how do you plan to get him ready now?
Well, what we like to do is try and get him in as many practice situations as we can and evaluate those situations. You know, he's only really had 9 practices. And so it's one thing that you're really concerned is that he's getting in football shape. I mean, everybody forgets this was, and we've told you, you know, going into the summer, that this was a pretty extensive surgery he went through because of the injury. You know, he wasn't going to be ready at the beginning of the year. We knew that. And now starting to bring him along, I think it's one of those things that the more and more confident he gets, the more likely he is going to be that he'll be on the field. But until he shows us he's ready to roll, we're going to just continue to work him, and when we do get him on the field, he'll be on a pitch count. We're not going to overexpose him. We have to be smart because it's not just about the now, but this is about the long term.
Is it a bit of a catch-22 with Chase because he needs the confidence of playing, but how can you get that confidence without playing?
Exactly, and that's why practices is so important. We've got to try and create those situations where he can really stress himself to find out exactly where he is. And that's one of the things that, you know, listening to Al and to the docs is that you never really can simulate this type of work unless you're out there doing it, and that's what he has to do. He's got to be able to trust himself that he can do that work.
So for fans that maybe aren't as familiar with the intricacies of like roster machinations, just being on the active roster, does that mean folks should expect to see him Sunday against Atlanta?
Not necessarily, because again, he's got to show us that he's ready to play football. You know, and by that I mean not just do the things that you need to do in terms of the X's and O's, but what you can do physically, how you can protect yourself out there. Because the last thing you want to do is put a guy out there and have him get hurt again. So we've got to be very diligent in making sure he's prepared and ready to roll.
And so that means he'll be on the injury report this week. And probably a decision later in the week, Saturday-ish.
Yep.
Okay. Now let's talk about on-field stuff from that game in Houston. How do you describe that defensive effort, especially in the first half?
Well, I think the big thing is we came out right away and we played very stout against the run. And one thing that I think was the reflection of that was, you know, they only got 24 yards rushing against us. What was really good from that point then also was the way and how effective the pass rush was. They rushed with a lot of discipline. They rushed with a lot of energy, and they worked well together. I mean, there's several of them that really show you how they work well together as a unit, and how as a defensive group they worked well because the coverage really synced up a lot of times with the rush.
How do you describe how John Allen's playing this season?
Very physical. I mean, he's very dynamic, and Jonathan makes a lot of impact plays right now, and that's a residual, I think, from the way he's approached it since I've been here, the way he practices, and then the way he takes it, transfers it onto the field. You see a lot of that with Duran. Duran's doing the same thing. Montez is doing a lot. In fact, if you look at that group as a whole, you sit there and say, wow, that defensive line practices the right way. In fact, they drive me nuts because they constantly run into our quarterbacks during practice. And that's always been a pet peeve of mine. We have to be aware of our own guys, and these guys can't help it. They're going to run into somebody.
Considering how well that D-line's playing, then, does that give you a little more leeway in bringing Chase along slowly?
Oh, absolutely. It does, and it helps because now there's no pressure to put him out there. That's why, you know, as he continues to get more and more confident, he builds it up, he'll let us know. And as long as our guys can stay healthy and ready to roll, that'll be a good thing for us.
Last one on the D-line, John Ridgway. He's playing tough, he's playing hard, but you can't be body slamming people.
No, and that's the unfortunate was that young man made a great play, stuffed the middle up, got a chance to wrap the guy up, and next thing you know, we got a flashback to the WWE, I guess.
Yeah. Got some fans riled up, though. I promise you that. They were excited about it. Let's go to the offense. I thought relatively perhaps uneven performance in the pass game. I imagine you were going nuts with some of those field goals inside the 10-yard line.
I was, because you get into the red zone, you got to score touchdowns, especially against the really, really good teams.
Right.
Because if not, that'll come back and haunt you. But there were a couple things early on that told us, man, we can get this done. The pass that Taylor made that was dropped, that could have been an interception. Terry's streaking through the middle, and he and the safety collide. If Terry avoids that and he throws that, man, there's a chance for that to be a big play.
I thought the run game to the perimeter was clearly working.
Yes.
How much do you enjoy seeing this rushing attack for your team come to fruition?
Well, I think it's very important because, again, if you're not, if you're not running inside, outside, off tackle, if you're not running the jets and the reverses, you can't be successful, because if you're always going off the edges, they know you're going off the edges. If you're always going downhill, they know you're going downhill. But if you mix it up like we've done, now they're guessing. We ran the ball 40 times this week and this past game. And what that does for them is now they've got to honor our zone, our inside zone, our outside zone, our jet sweeps, our reverses. They've got to honor our gap scheme. And then guess what we do? Play action, throw the ball downfield.
How important is Curtis to the run game?
Well, Curtis is important to the offense because
Sure.
of how we move him around. To your point is, if he ends up in the backfield, doesn't necessarily mean he's going to get the ball, because he can always run a route from there, okay? Or he runs jet motion, and doesn't mean he's just there to move the coverage from one side to the other, because you could always hand him the ball. So there's so many things that he does that impact what we do, and it puts doubt in their mind, and that's important.
One of the things that really stood out in that Philly game, the win, was how successful you guys were on third downs. Yesterday kind of reverted back to some of the third down struggles offensively. What is the difference between third down success? I know a lot of it is third and manageable, but
Yes.
it seems like there maybe is more to that.
Right, there is a little bit more to that, and that's it. That is third and manageable. Well, it's got to be better than manageable. We were better than manageable against Philadelphia. We were just manageable. There's some things that we could have done a little bit better to help ourselves a little bit. Now, we missed a couple of throws. We missed a couple of catches we had chances to. We let some pressure get through a couple of times. And you got to give them credit too a little bit, because I knowing, because I had coached for Coach Smith and understanding what we could expect from them, and that was very disciplined in terms of their coverage. He was going to mix it up in terms of coverages, going from man to zone, and then add on the pressures that he brought. It was a little disruptive, and we didn't have a good handle on that as a whole, and we've got to be better at that.
After the game, you were asked and decided to make clear that Heinicke is the starter here. Mm-hmm. Are you a little surprised by the amount of attention generated by you saying that? Like,
Yeah.
do you feel like it's even needed to say it?
Well, I don't think it really needs to be reiterated. I mean, it's said, it's out there, which is great. But, it's one of those things that I thought, to me, it was almost a fait accompli, just because of how he's played, the energy he's brought, the way his teammates have reacted. I mean, so many things went into my decision and thinking about, and it's something I've thought about for over 12 years. Yeah, ever since I've been a head coach, I always thought, how would I handle this situation with my quarterback? How would we say, okay, this is going to be our guy going forward, and this is why, this is what's happened. And I've always thought, man, if I had a guy that came in and had to play 4 games, and next thing you know, he's 4-0 or he's 3-1 and just had a major upset, what do you do? How do you handle that? Well, you got to listen. The teams, the players tell you. Okay, they tell you, just listening. The energy that's in the locker room, the way they handle things. The thing that I like now is, we're not in this here we go again mode. We lost a tough one to Minnesota, and it was, here we go again. No, it wasn't. Because why? We got up, we got prepared, we went after and played Philadelphia pretty well. Philadelphia gets a turnover, scores on their first opportunity with the ball. We get the ball, go right back down, score, and now it's 7-7. So the attitude has changed a little bit. It's not, here we go again. It's, hey, all right, our turn, let's go.
How much of that is attributable to Taylor?
I think a lot of it is attributed to Taylor. You know, it's one of the things that when you look at the energy he brings, the excitement he brings, the confidence he brings, a lot of it's attributed to the way we play on defense. You know, hey, defense settles in, and next thing you know, here we go. You know, and that's a big part of it. I mean, yesterday I thought the defense set the tone. You know, second play of the game, you know, Kendall Fuller intercepts for a touchdown. They get the ball back, and they're 3 and out, and we're sacking the quarterback. And they get another 3 and out, and we're sacking the quarterback again. We're getting great field position. That's the kind of thing that you need, is that, you know, you're relying on certain guys to make plays, and, you know, Terry makes the first big catch for our offense, and now we got some rhythm going. We start hitting some of the runs. I mean, those are all things that are coming together at a really good time for us.
The stat lines aren't always pretty. I mean,
Yep.
Yesterday was about 200 yards passing, 15 completions. It wasn't an aesthetically pleasing passing game, but there's just obviously something else there. What do you see or hear from Taylor in kind of the private moments at practice, in the locker room? What is it about him that creates this magnetism?
Well, I think a lot, first of all, is his whole mentality. I think being the underdog suits him. I think it's one of those things that suits our guys. I mean, you know, we catch a lot of flack. There's a lot on us, and yet our guys are able to come together and focus on what's important. That's what we do on the football field. That's the important thing for us. So we prepare and we get ready and we go out and we play, and that's the kudos to our guys for being able to compartmentalize and come together as a unit and focus in on doing something together as a group. And you know, it's one of the things that we harp on. We try to get these guys to buy in, and that's to believe in each other and trust in us, you know, and just that's kind of come together. It really is. And so as we go forward and looking at Atlanta, I mean, I'm pretty excited about it. Heck, we had to be about 10,000.
I was going to ask you.
It had to be. I mean, and the players were talking about it. They thought it was really cool.
Did you hear on the back-to-back sacks in that second quarter, the defense chant in that end zone? What do you hope the crowd is like Sunday for Atlanta?
Oh, I hope they're ferocious. I really do. I mean, I'm hoping for the best, just because we're giving everything we can right now. We really are. I think our guys are playing hard. They're excited. They're rallying around each other. To have the energy in there would be really cool. I think it was, because again, one of the things we talk about is that if we can win and turn this around and get the fan base excited about us as a football team, I think that could be a huge thing.
I think it's my understanding you're giving the guys off Thanksgiving.
Yes.
How important of a choice is that?
Well, I did this a few years ago, and the players really responded very well. You know, we were in the same type of situation. You know, we started slow in 2013, and we caught this momentum, and then we got to Thanksgiving, and I told the guys, this is something you guys have earned, because you guys understand how to do it, how to come in, practice this way, get the whole day off, and then practice this way. Because again, I asked them to give me their Tuesday, which is typically their normal day off. They're giving me their Tuesday, so we're going to practice Tuesday, Wednesday, enjoy Thanksgiving, then come back together on Friday for a Fast Friday practice, which is always, to me, I think the most important practice, because that's when everything comes together. And I expect a Fast Friday practice. And I really do think I'm going to get it, just because I think the guys understand that this is what it takes now, that if we do things the right way and we can handle our situation and our circumstances, that this is what comes with it.
I'm guessing you're not surprised, but how happy are you how much this thing has turned around?
I'm very happy. I really am. And it's been a battle, but I've tried to stay the course. I've tried to stay true to what I believe, because I've done this before. I mean, we talked about when I first got here that you look at the defensive line, and you got these two tackles that we want to keep together. We want to do everything we can to keep them together. And we know it's going to be hard, but we're going to do it. And that's what we had when I got my first chance as a head coach. You know, we had K'Wan Short and Star Lutulele, and that just created so much for us up front. And then we had this dynamic set of running backs. You know, when you have, you have Angelo Williams and D'Angelo Williams, and you have Jonathan Stewart. I mean, that's a great 1-2 punch, and that's what we have right now. So we're kind of mimicking what we've done, and it was just a matter of being able to put ourselves in this position, getting to this point, and now saying, man, we can win games if we can keep this formula up, we can stay healthy, and do some good things.
Last one, sorry, I forgot this earlier. St. Juice update? Looked like he rolled the ankle.
Yeah, I just rolled ankle. I love the fact that he said, well, maybe I overreacted. I thought that was kind of cool. And hopefully, you know, I know
he's
he's
a soccer player.
Yeah, I know he's going to be sore, but it's one of those things that, you know, we'll monitor and we'll work it and keep him rolling and try to get him as loose as possible and ready for Sunday.
Nothing, no major timeline.
Not that, as I understand, as of right now, no.
Okay. Thank you very much for the time.
All right, appreciate it.